appreciate them so much. So today I'm talking about inviting miracles, and it's following the talk that I gave last week, and that was Great Expectations, and that we always want to expect good. Expect good. That's incredibly important. Now, why did I say inviting miracles? I didn't want to say creating miracles, because I think that we really, through our consciousness, our awareness, and whatever it is that we're doing, we are out inviting miracles in. There's been a change around the world, and I know that Beth, when we did her interview this summer, she mentioned that 100th monkey syndrome, that the monkeys on an island, or the first one starts to wash a potato, second one sees him. Yeah, it really is a potato in the story. Second one sees him, starts to do the same thing. Third one, same thing, until not only are the monkeys on that island doing it, but somehow, the consciousness has changed the monkeys on the next island over, and they're also washing their potatoes. And this is real, and it's a phenomenon that's happened. It's very clear. And as the consciousness is rising on the earth, and it is, if you're paying attention. And in physical terms, they call that sociological mindfulness. And Michael Schwalbe says, and I'm going to quote him, "Your true power lies in your ability, through words and deeds, to demonstrate to others the ability to do things differently." Okay, now there's the sociological definition of that. We look at it in unity, more from a metaphysical point of view, and that means we're looking at the unseen world, and we know that there's a universal power. Some call God, some call something else. It's okay. There is a universal power of which we are all a part. We can claim that, and once we align ourselves with that, we get in line with it, and we live according to that. You can call it a rhythm, you can call it a vibration, you can call it anything you like. You will see those people, and if you haven't gotten it yet, and probably most of us at some point in our life hadn't gotten it yet, that you'll look at people and say, why are they so lucky? Why do their lives go so well and mine's crummy? What's the difference? And then at some point in your life, you recognize that you're the one that was manifesting all the time. You just didn't know it. Now, what can help you about living your life as if everything is a miracle and looking for miracles? Why would you want to invite miracles into your life? There's several benefits. You'll be filled with a sense of awe and wonder. You'll anticipate and expect good and good outcomes instead of those crummy outcomes we were talking about. You'll be healthier and happier. You'll have a higher understanding of life. And when those bigger challenges come your way, you'll have a different way of looking at it. And no matter what, you'll have peace of heart and mind. Now I'm going to remind us we are in a unity center, and several of you have been to other unity centers, and there are a few things that we all teach that are the same. And these are the 5 principles, and these are the way we teach children so they'll remember easily to remember these principles. God is, I am, I think it, I pray it, I live it. It's pretty simple, huh? And generally on a Sunday, those of us that are speaking will use at least one principle. And I guess you've got to say that what I'm talking about today, I'm going to use all 5 of them. So we're going to take a look at all of them. So the first slide was of a dandelion. And when they become seeds, does anybody know what they're called? Puffballs? Puffballs. Anybody blow on a dandelion when you were a kid? Make a wish and you blew on it? We know that's a superstition, don't we? But we do it anyway. I think it's pretty sweet. I've always loved dandelions. My husband doesn't like them so much. They fill the yard and it makes him unhappy, but I think they're pretty. Sort of like free flowers. But when you really look at it, there have been so many superstitions from the beginning of time that people have used. You know, the black cat theory, and you know where that came from was medieval times, and everybody was looking for, why does that person have good luck and I have such crummy luck? Well, I think I saw a black cat go in front of my path, or you know, some other such nonsense. And I think we've all gone through those times, and many of those superstitions have evolved with us. So hold on to them if they're helpful. Let them go if they're not. One man said, I'm a lifelong veteran of manifesting my reality, but it was not until about 2/3 of my life was already over that I finally realized it. Right? He learned that doing it consciously is a whole lot better than doing it unconsciously. He said somewhere along the line, I started seriously pondering over how I'd spent my life. My successes, my failures. Like most people, I wanted some real answers to the why of it. And after much searching, he says, I came to understand that my successes and my failures both came from the same stuff. Just different stuff. My thoughts, my words, my beliefs, the way I choose to feel inside, because we know that how we feel generates an energy too. Powerful. He said from that discovery onward, I've really tried to turn from manifesting unconsciously to manifesting my reality in a more conscious manner. So the first thing we need to do is to be aware. Awareness. He says, I absolutely guarantee you that doing it consciously is way better. It'll fill your days and nights with peace, joy, and fulfillment. So let's break that down for a moment, if you're willing. We must be aware. We must watch our thoughts. We must let go of the past, resentments, blame, etc. See yourself as you want to be. Then, importantly, do what needs to be done by you. As we've said so many times, don't expect to meet other people. Don't expect to meet your soulmate, to find the perfect job, anything else good that's going to come into your life while you're sitting in the house. You can't do it. You've got to at least come out on the porch. You've got to be willing to do something. Do something right. We've got those lyrics in our head. You've got to be willing to do your part. Are you willing to meet Spirit at least halfway? Stay positive. Pray. Prayer works. And it's really simple, and some of you may have a practice that's known as the golden key. It's really the same thing, just using a few different words. It's really the same thing. There was a religious science minister named Emmett Fox, and he developed a concept called the golden key. And he taught it because it was so extremely simple. Take your mind off your problem and put it on God. He didn't place any other steps between it. He called it a miracle process, and it was. It's been taught to millions around the world. Very successful. Anybody can remember that. You don't have to remember all these other steps. But you can take your mind off your problem. Remember the third principle, I think it. I think it. Take your mind off your problem, put it on God. Open your mind, open your heart to new possibilities coming. If you are not willing to let go, your resentments, just not going to let go of it. And you think you're hurting them. You think you're hurting some other person, don't you, when you're holding on to that unforgiveness? Holding on to your old story. And I was interested in another thing Beth said, and that she's a master clinical social worker, and she's done this work for many, many, many years and hasn't peopled out yet. Or maybe I should ask her on what day. But she said that one thing she doesn't put up with is a victim. Thank you, Beth. Do you consider yourself a victim of circumstances? Something from the past? Somebody? Something you can't get over? Something? Let's change that. From can't. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. From can't, change that word to won't. I won't get over it because I'm not willing. I won't. I will not release being a victim. Why? Because heck, I get something out of it. I get attention. I get to tell people my story over and over and over again. till I can't find a friend anywhere. That's usually the way it goes with a victim. You wear everybody out around you. And that's the truth. And we can talk about physically worn out, where you're just going to pass out from listening, and metaphysically, the rhythm that goes with that, the energy, the way that feels. We can talk about that in both realms, physical and metaphysical. It's hard. It's hard to be around a victim or a poor me for very long, because you just can't hold them up forever. You just can't. You can't give from an empty well. And if that's your situation and you've been doing it too long, you will finally be peopled out. So if you want to continue giving and doing good, then you need to take care of yourself too. Now, for today's talk, we could use numerous tag words. And I'd love tag words. You can put any of them into your blog post or whatever it is you're doing now, Facebook or wherever, and it'll be a note for someone else to see what that's going to be about. And they can find it easily. A miracle, miraculous, grateful, forgiving. Do we ever think of the word forgiving when we're thinking about bringing a miracle into our lives? Well, better get used to it. Better get the forgiveness going, because you're not going to create miracles if you're unforgiving. Loving, kind, courageous, compassionate, patient, peaceful, generous, open, willing, many, many, many more. The words can't and won't aren't on there. There's a story that's coming to mind, and it's a spiritual teacher was telling a story of a man that reached out to her by email. And his story was so pathetic. He was an elderly man. He had no money. He had nothing. He was about to lose his home. He didn't know what he was going to do. He was depressed. Not only was he depressed, he was desperate. Absolutely desperate. Didn't know what he was going to do. So he reached out to her to see if she could give him some advice. So her advice was this: treat yourself gently and have compassion for where you are, but also know that you can change. You can change your mindset. You can change your life. So quit having thoughts immediately of being desperate and depressed. Think of one thought right now, one thought, one way of being grateful, any single thing that's a more positive thought, anything in the realm of positivity. So he did. He had all this lower energy that he was just sunk in. You know that when you're in desperation, you have no hope. There's no hope for anything getting better. So she said, you quit that. Raise your energy, raise your thoughts, think on something positive, whatever it is. And it may be that can of soup sitting in the cabinet. Think of that and be grateful. because there may be another person that doesn't even have that. Be grateful. Then she told him, she said, get out of the house and do something. Go for a walk. Use some energy. Try to be flexible in ways where you've become rigid. And be willing to change your thoughts, your habits, whatever it is in your life, be willing to change that. So willing is another important word. So what he did, he started using that positive energy to focus his thoughts on something good. Focus his thoughts on the fact that there is a spiritual solution to every problem. I just don't see it yet. That spiritual solution is there. Every day he concentrated on the positive vision, this vision that he had created of himself, what he wanted for himself, how he could see himself being. And he saw himself being comfortable in a place where he wasn't hungry, he wasn't incapacitated, he was able to pay his bills. That's what he kept seeing for himself, and this vision became his light. So he started focusing on that. Every day he took a walk in his local park among the grass and the trees, and he breathed in health and wholeness and vitality. It was free. And he let go of all that angst and worry. And he pictured those good things coming his way. And as he walked, he started to shift out of that dark cloud that he'd been under for so long. He got in touch with her later and gave her the final on how his life has progressed. He said he'd found a little apartment, found a way to sell his house and have enough money to live on for the rest of his life. He was getting out and helping others by going to the senior center and being an inspiration. It had changed his life. He found joy, peace, and love. We can do it too by being aware of your negativity. Every time you go negative, change it. Your words and your thoughts. Let go of the past. See yourself as you want to be. Do what needs to be done by you. Stay positive. Pray. So this morning, I hope that each and every one of you will be open and willing to change your mind, have new ideas and thoughts. Hope you'll be willing to let go of what no longer serves you, holding you hostage. Hope you'll be the gentle shepherd of your wandering mind and thoughts, and with understanding, encourage those thoughts, those little lost sheep to come back into the fold and be positive. You can do it. You can heal your life. All it takes is a moment to change your mind. Thank you so much for your time.